going on, ladies and gentlemen? Good evening and welcome to the Weekly Narrative. We're back, folks. That's right, you thought we were gone. You thought that YouTube deleted us from the internet. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? You know we would never let that happen. We would never let them do that.
Never ever.
Synergy right in the chat as soon as I come in. He says, Susan really did a number on our bi-weekly narrative. Yeah, so, well, we'll start off with a little explanation of what happened here. As you guys can see behind me, I'm in a different location now because I'm in Houston, Texas. That's right, folks. I made the journey. I finally escaped California, made it to Texas, Houston, and so far it is great. The journey was treacherous, but I made it. I felt like I was on the Oregon Trail. You know, people were dying of dysentery left and right. I had to shoot bison to survive, and all of my training from middle school really came back and helped me out there. But Delaney and I actually both moved last weekend.
Yep.
So we both moved.
Same time, yeah.
So that's why we couldn't do a show on Tuesday. And Tuesday and Saturday. I wasn't even settled in Houston until like Saturday evening. I got here Saturday evening, so that's why we weren't streaming this week. Now, if you were following me on the community page on YouTube, you would have seen my message there notifying you guys. But yeah, so it wasn't YouTube. Okay, we only got a warning. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what happened on the last stream, episode 60, which will be forever gone and lost in the black hole of
archives.
Yeah, the hidden archives. That show ended in a bang, and in retrospect, it was a little expected because I think I titled the stream "Destroying the COVID Narratives." Pro tip: if you run a YouTube channel, don't start a live stream with the title that says "Destroying COVID Narratives." You're gonna get some attention that will be unwanted. And we got a 24-hour suspension on stereo as well, like at the same exact time. So we had a soy boy come onto the stereo chat. He was really doing the soy narratives real hard, like, oh, you're an alt-centrist. I know what that means. And Delaney, you should be scared of this guy. You got to be careful.
He was trying to plead to me as the woman and being like, you don't know this guy. You shouldn't talk to him. This is a dangerous person. I was just like, you are actually the dangerous one, my friend. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and so it wasn't YouTube. It was just us finding the upper ranges, the upper limits of what we can say and what we can do on YouTube. And I'm seeing there's some slight hiccups on the stream. Let me see if I can take a quick look at that here real quick. This is a multi-million-dollar studio, you guys, if you can't tell, so I can definitely get this working properly.
Yeah, he's the brains. I'm the beauty.
Whole new setup, and I'll have to do some little tweaking here and there, but we'll get the show started in just a second here. Don't worry. I know you guys have missed us, and this should be a good lesson for you guys because we went like 60 episodes without a single break in between. And you know what happened? I think it's good that we took a break, Delaney. You know why? Because it introduced some scarcity for the viewers. They were complacent. They just every single Tuesday and Saturday at 7 p.m. they got online. They knew that this amazing show was just going to be there, and they were just going to have a great time watching it. But then the 1 week it doesn't show up. You get a lesson in scarcity, so hopefully you value the show a little higher today. And we're going to be talking about scarcity as soon as I figure out what's going on here in regards to the Colonial pipeline hack, because we're talking, ironically, about the same exact thing we were talking about almost a year ago with the shortage of toilet paper and the shortage of supplies. We're talking about price gouging. Remember when we were talking about price gouging with like hand sanitizer and toilet paper and stuff like that? Stuff we were short on. Yeah, well, it turns out that price gouging isn't a real thing. We'll talk about why. I'm not seeing any more errors on my end, guys, but let me know if we have any more hiccups. Wait, no, I am still seeing some hiccups here. I don't know if there's anything I can do about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm looking at the YouTube stream, Jeremy, and it is a little choppy.
Yeah, I can see that as well.
But I'm glad that everybody's here and that they're happy to see us. I mean, I feel so loved and appreciated. It's just like when you go on vacation and you leave your dog behind and you come back and the dog is just like pissing himself because they're so happy.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. Stereo sounds good. YouTube is okay. We will. We're just gonna have to power through it here. Usually that works out for us. Again, I'm on a new internet connection and everything too, so who knows? We're gonna power through it, and we're gonna start by powering through with the intro. Let's jump into it. Your stream is experiencing issues, says OBS. But,
Oh no.
you know what? They're just going to have to deal with it. We're still pumping out 7,000 kilobits per second here, so.
Hell yeah.
Man, it's been a long week, and as I've been traveling, I've been trying to pay attention to the news. There's been a lot of stuff going on. We've got the Israel's on fire. They're bombing each other over there nonstop. We've got this Colonial pipeline hack, which I think is the biggest news right now. That's probably what we're going to focus on. There's a couple new, one new COVID study that just came out that I want to talk about, as well as the COVID study that was mentioned last week regarding the long haul stats and the number of people that get affected by that. So we got some stuff to talk about, but it'll probably be a light stream as we try to overcome these technical issues and ease ourselves back into it. You know, we're probably a little rusty from a week off, so.
Yeah, I know I'm a bit rusty, so it's going to take me a second to dip my toes back in the water, but it'll be good.
Just set your expectations low. Just be happy to see us this week, okay?
Yeah, just be happy that we're here, you guys.
Clearly,
don't expect glory.
Clearly the techno gods are frowning upon me today. I don't know. I didn't sacrifice enough lambs to get the proper stream technology working here, but I'm only at 14% CPU, so.
You couldn't find any virgins to throw in volcanoes down there in Texas, Jeremy?
No volcanoes, unfortunately.
Oh, dang.
But I think we can start out with the Colonial hack. So you guys have heard about this. Colonial Pipelines is a major oil manufacturer that provides gas to the most of the southeast and the eastern half of the United States of America. Oh, thank you for that, GMX. Says cool intro. Appreciate that. Hopefully you could see it through the lagging stream. But I want to bring you guys back to something that I mentioned a few weeks back. And this proves my point exactly. And I tried to find a clip of me saying this, but I couldn't find it. But maybe, Delaney, you remember me saying this. I told you guys that we're witnessing the death of competency in America, right? We see this all over the place, and everywhere from politics to education to you name it. We're failing in tests of competency across the board. I mean, we just saw CIA come out with advertisements where this woman was basically like, I'm a minority and I'm a woman and I have anxiety and I can serve in the CIA. It's like, that is not what we want serving in the CIA. I want someone who's, like hardened, dead serious, no mental illness, no intersectionality, nothing like that. We're witnessing the death of competency everywhere, and I said that the first place we would notice this is in a cyber attack, because that is the cutting edge of technology. It's the cutting edge of the 21st century. That's where you cannot be incompetent. If you have any slight weakness, faltering in this area, it will be exploited immediately and ruthlessly. And guess what? Less than probably like 3 weeks since I said that, we're seeing half of the country being crippled with gas shortages because of a ransomware attack on one company. Was I right or was I right? Now,
Oh, you've been right, Jeremy. I mean, we talked about the hacks going on in India. We've talked about all these things going on internationally, and then it finally hits here, and it's like it crippled us so bad.
so there's people saying that the pipeline's going to be back up and running in a few days. They're trying to make this like it's not too big of an issue. They're saying don't rush out and fill up your gas tanks. Don't feel inclined to top off your gas tanks just because you think there might be a shortage coming here soon. But that's not the point. The point is that it was incredibly easy for a random cyber attacking group. This isn't even a state sponsored thing. This is just a bunch of guys in a basement. Literally, a bunch of guys in a basement. The hacker group is called Darkside. They think they're from Star Wars or something. There's a bunch of LARPing guys in a basement who took down basically half the country's oil infrastructure. So let that sink in. And what you don't realize if you don't work in cybersecurity is that large corporations across the board, generally speaking, are entirely incompetent when it comes to cybersecurity. Now, imagine that a company that has as much money, as much funding as a massive oil distributor like Colonial. You imagine how much money they have and how much money they could use to bolster their cybersecurity. Now think about something that's completely publicly funded, like, I don't know, maybe an election that does not have the same amount of funding or security or criticality to it. I mean, it serves a more critical civic function, but there's no profit incentive to secure this. There's no catastrophic down chain effects of it going down like there is with an oil pipeline. And I'm just saying, if an oil company can get hacked, somebody you'd expect infrastructure. If an infrastructure company like this could be hacked, everything can and will and probably has been hacked.
Yeah, this is just the first wave of hacking that we are getting notifications from. And this is great. Yeah, awesome. Love it.
Well, yeah, it's a good indication that if you want to get a job with good security, no pun intended, look into cybersecurity, because I can tell you that there's going to be endless demand for cybersecurity professionals. And with the infrastructure bill that Biden just passed, $2 trillion towards infrastructure, a lot of that will be going towards securing it, which I've been saying since this podcast has existed, we need to do, because now think about this. A bunch of guys in a basement can shut down half the country, send us into gas shortages, supply chain second and third order effects. What can a state actor do if they really wanted to? That's what you should be thinking about. So, we might get over this gas shortage thing in a week or two, but that's not the point. It needs to instill a burning question in your brain, which is, wait a second, is this really all as stable as we're led to believe it is, this whole society thing we've got propped up here? Because spoiler alert, it's not. You are always only one cyber attack away from having your entire life basically destroyed. Not to fearmonger too hard on you or anything, but just saying. See, Many Crows says it's fake. Just as fake as the lumber shortages. Okay, so that is a narrative that is being floated around, and I don't know what the efficacy of this is, but people are saying that the hack story is a cover-up to basically. Now, feel free to correct me in the chat here, guys, because I'm not the one that's perpetrating this claim, but I think the claim is that the hack is a cover-up for Biden's incompetencies or something that he did that. Basically caused the gas prices to increase and cause these gas shortages. So Biden caused the gas shortages, but the hack is a cover-up for that. Am I representing that point correctly?
I mean, either if that's the cover, then it's a pretty bad cover. I mean, normally when it's something like this, they cover the bad news with something good, not, oh, well, this hack is happening because of Biden's incompetency. Like that kind of doesn't make sense to me.
You know what's funny about that point, though, is I also have said in the past that the next major false flag is going to be cyber. So it's not really a false flag necessarily. I mean, you could say it is, because it is an attack Technically, we were attacked by foreign entities. If you consider cyber attacks an act of war, saying that it was a cyber actor from a foreign power when it's really not is technically a false flag attack, right? So I'm also right if that's the case.
Somebody in the chat says it was an inside job, which maybe, I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know any of this crap. I just calls it like I sees it. And if it's that easy for them to put ransomware into our fuel line system like that, then we got lots of problems, and we need good people that know what they're doing to protect our infrastructure. Like this is serious, y'all.
So I like this. I like all the theories that are coming up. But so inside job, what? So you're saying that it's a monetary motivation? Somebody inside the company plugged in a flash drive that spread this malware, or opened a firewall to allow this to come through, something like that. I could see that. Now, here's the thing that you guys might know about ransomware. This is fascinating. Most people don't understand how complex the dark web and the malicious attacker kind of economy is, but you can literally buy, just like you can buy software as a service. Like if you subscribe to Microsoft Office Online, you pay $10 a month, you get access to Microsoft Office. There is ransomware as a service now. Hacker groups will offer you the ability to purchase the ransomware and support. I'm dead serious. You buy ransomware, and then you get a support package where you can call Vlad in Russia, and he'll help you make sure that you install the ransomware correctly on whichever company you're trying to attack. That's how complex this has become, and that's exactly what this type of stuff was. DarkSide attacked them with it's a ransomware as a service, and when something's so prolific as you could just literally subscribe to it, like you can subscribe to Netflix, it should indicate that you need to beef up security a little bit, just across the board. In America, we should have a stronger emphasis on cybersecurity. If this doesn't wake people up, I don't know what will.
I mean, maybe it is an inside job. I mean, like I said, I'm not that smart when it comes to all this stuff. Maybe it was something inside. And if it is, then again, we need to get better people under the guise of like, we need to protect our infrastructure. And if we are so incompetent that we let these losers in to protect us, or lack of protecting us, then we need to get rid of these losers and get good people in to protect us.
I'm open to it. I think it's entirely possible that it was an inside job. I think it's entirely possible that it was a cover-up for something. But, we don't. I think we need a little bit more evidence to say one way or the other on that. Let's jump over to Stereo. We had a couple comments come in. I think Synergy dropped one here.
So welcome back, Jeremy and Delaney.
Thank you.
Let's take a trip down conspiracy theory lane. So say this actual gas shortage goes on. They're not going to have even number license plates fill up one day and odd number license plates fill the next day. They did that in the 70s, and people cheated it. They swapped license plates. No. Yep. They would use a digital app to deal with this. And that would be another way to do the Great Reset. Now they're going to have one more method to get a digital passport. The COVID passports are dying. This would be one in which you could tie to fossil fuels, which you can already see they're changing to be the narrative of the next 4 years. And they would be able to see how much fossil fuels each person is using. Food for thought. Not my thought, from courtesy Michael Mouse's Locals. There you go.
It's a good thought. I mean, they've been talking about getting rid of gas-powered vehicles altogether. So this is a great way for them, like he said, to kind of see how much energy and how much fuel people are consuming through digital means and digital monitoring. So I can see that happening too. It's just finding the actual evidence to prove that is the tough part.
Yeah, that's the thing. I would say you don't even have to prove that that's what they're trying to do. They're going to take any crisis they can and use it to constrict, like a python snake or a boa constrictor. Every time you inhale when you're being constricted by that snake, when you exhale and your lungs get a little bit smaller, the snake squeezes a little bit tighter. So anytime something happens and we let a little bit more air out as a society, that constrictor is just going to get a little bit tighter every single time, regardless of whether this was a completely natural event, organic thing that happened, or whether it was planned. Maybe we don't even have to. Maybe the important part isn't really finding out why or how it really happened, but it's looking at our response to it. And Synergy brings up a good point. It's going to be used to constrict our rights. And they were talking about this COVID passport being a digital thing that's kind of basically the equivalent of like the Chinese social credit score, where you have a digital wallet that's tied to your finances, it's tied to your health, and it's going to be tied to, of course, they're going to tie it to your carbon footprint or your carbon output or whatever they want to call it, because we all know, the green narrative is their wins. So they're going to use any opportunity they can to track you and do things like that, which it brings us to the concept of the price gouging. Have you guys seen them talking about the price gouging? I thought this was funny. I know I mentioned it earlier. We're going to swing back to it because I got to say, I think the idea of price gouging is stupid. And you guys can feel free to push back on this, but I think people who think price gouging is a thing, they just don't understand supply and demand, really. And we'll give you a few illustrations, a few visualizations here to kind of show you why that is. So, firstly, when you don't have the Energy Secretary, Jennifer Gronholm, or whatever her name was, came out and said that they're going to be cracking down on gas stations who try to initiate price gouging. Price gouging. I have to put air quotes on that because again, these gas stations aren't coming to like meetings and saying, "All right, guys, we're gonna price gouge these customers." They're simply reacting to the supply and demand. So what you're seeing is pictures like this, which they probably don't show you on mainstream media. I don't watch TV, but you might see pictures like this. This is from a gas station somewhere in the East Coast. This guy's got, for those who aren't watching the stream on youtube.com/weeklynarrative, we are doing a stream there as well for those on stereo. You can see a giant, probably like I would say at least a 500-gallon tank.
That's huge. Yeah, that's a big-ass tank.
On the back of a trailer, and he's got 2 pumps hooked up to it. So he's got 2 pumps pumping into this. So if you don't have price gouging, guys like this will show up to your gas station, and one guy will take all of your gas because you're not disincentivizing him in any way from doing that. Now, if the gas was $6 a gallon, $7 a gallon, do you think this guy would fill up his 500-gallon tank? Probably not. So the price gouging is it's an economic tool. They're misrepresenting an economic tool known as supply and demand, which actually, this is the ironic part, is that price gouging, quote unquote, as they call it, is more fair. And these women, the Energy Secretary, who's a woman, she says that price gouging is a bad thing, but we all know that women inherently value fairness over pretty much anything else. That's like they want fairness over, that's their highest value. Price gouging, quote unquote, is more fair because it allows you to distribute the gas among more customers, as opposed to letting one guy like this guy with a 500-gallon tank just roll up and dry out your tanks. So,
oh, I love it.
They want to be fair, but they're so stupid. They don't understand economics that they're choosing the method that is least fair, because on the surface level, price gouging sounds mean, it sounds bad, and it looks bad when you see, $6.77 for a gallon on a gas station sign. So in this case, I think what's happening is their emotions, their immediate visceral emotions when they see $7 a gallon for gas, they're like, oh, well, that's not fair. That's price gouging. And as a result, they're actually creating a less fair system by reacting to that in an emotional way. Hilarious. Mm-hmm. I can't help but recognize the irony there.
I think it's hilarious too. Like, gas here in California, because I'm still in California for the listeners that have been listening from the beginning. I moved, but I'm still in California. Mm-hmm. Jeremy's in Texas. So Jeremy's probably, you might feel the effects of this, but me in California, I mean, we should be okay, but our gas is still already pretty expensive over here, so we're used to it.
Paying $2.34 a gallon here. Ooh, man, it feels good.
Oh, baby.
Mm.
Lucky duck,
And
man.
random side note, there's no shortage of Dr. Pepper cream soda with zero sugar here in Texas either. I literally went 6 months in California without seeing one box of this in the stores. And then when I saw it, there was only 4 boxes. I come here to Texas, the first grocery store I go into, it's just stacked. There's like 20 boxes.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many terrible things about living in California. The number one thing being the availability of Dr. Pepper zero sugar cream soda. So anyway,
Just a little side note.
yeah, no, we've seen other examples of this price, these hoarding, I guess you could say. So it's a lose-lose, because if you see guys like this, then they're hoarding. If you try to implement price controls, then it's price gouging, and they're actually the Jennifer, what's her face, the energy secretary, told people, get this, she told people to report the price gouging when you see it. What did we tell you? What have we always told you about the left and their relationship with authority? Schoolyard
Oh,
analogy,
yeah, they love
okay?
it. They love it when it can benefit them.
Everything in life is nothing in life is more complicated than schoolyard psychology and schoolyard behavior. So you're in recess in 3rd grade. Little Timmy does something mean to one of the girls, and what does she do? Immediately runs to the monitor, the recess monitor, the nearest authority figure. Okay, that's what they do. They get accustomed to being able to go to the nearest authority figure to fix the problem for them, which is why the left is inherently authoritarian and why they want the government to become so big, because anytime something is wrong, they want the government to fix the problem for them. So we're seeing the manifestation of that here, right here with this. And the Secretary Jennifer said, if you see this, report it. Report it to you're going to go to this website and you can report price gouging. So now there's going to be a bunch of Louis out there who they see, they have zero understanding of economics. They roll up to a gas station. They see $7 a gallon and like, where's hello government? I need to report somebody. That's exactly.
Yeah.
That's the type of environment that they're trying to create. Is an environment where people are always looking out for everyone else. They're always looking for a reason to report your neighbor, to report somebody in your community. Reporting for anything. I mean, look, you go on Twitter, you can report. Somebody says something mean, you report them. You go to Facebook, somebody says something mean, shares a meme you don't like, report them to Zuckerberg.
Yep.
Instagram, I'm sure you can report them to Zuckerberg on there as well. Everywhere they go, these people have a method to report you to authority so that they can implement their will upon you through the authority. So,
yeah, and what's sad is that these people are going to report that guy with the 500-gallon tank, but they don't even realize, like, he has a 500-gallon tank probably for a good reason. He probably has a farm or owns land and needs it to fill up his equipment, and he just always has a spare tank of gas on him just for that. So they'll sit there and report that guy for filling up his 500-gallon tank, but then when their food goes short because that guy can't power his tractor and power all his farming equipment to cultivate all the product that he has manifested, then they're going to complain about the food prices because there's not going to be any food available.
I zoomed in another picture. I mean, there's millions of these out there. You can see these. This is another picture of one of those guys with the those giant water tanks. I don't know how big these things are, but he's going to be there for about an hour filling up that gigantic jug of gasoline. And you want that, or do you want everyone to get 10 gallons? That's really what it's going to be. That's the question there.
We just need to go back to the 70s, like Synergy and Stereo said, back when they had the gas shortage back then, and they did a odd number license plate on this day, even number on this day. Just everybody gets their ration and be happy with your ration. Bigot.
Is anybody in chat? I'm curious if anybody in chat or in Stereo, has anybody come across or had to deal with gas shortages? Because I know, we were out on the West Coast, and I'm curious if anybody here has actually had to deal with that And if you have any personal stories on that. While we're waiting for anyone to respond to that, let's jump over. I saw we have our UK correspondent in stereo.
Hey guys, good to have you back.
What's up, Mini
British
Piggy?
correspondent here. So, in the British papers, BBC particularly amongst others, I suppose the summary report is that DarkSide is a group of ransomware hackers, probably based in Russia. Any of the code that was used across the whole of the internet, extranet that was used as part of the gas pipeline that was written in Russian was ignored. Clue here, write your scripts in Russian. And the ransomware people later apologized, said they'd give some money back to charity. They'd only done it for money in the first place and to prove a point, and that it was all a whole lot of fun.
Yep.
Oh,
That's a good
yeah,
point.
so much fun destabilizing our infrastructure. Yeah, that's real good fun nowadays, I guess, for the kids.
What's up, Doug Masters? Welcome to chat. We got DJ, Dari, Stalking Horse, PJ Fan. I forgot to call you guys out in chat. Sorry, I've been a little scatterbrained trying to figure out the technical stuff here. I think the stream is doing okay now, but we'll just keep powering
it's
through.
a little bit better.
That is an interesting nuance about the cyber attack. Is that now these dark side hackers, they don't. So this is the thing about any Russian hackers is that they don't target Russia. So that's the first indication that they're not. They are from Russia is they don't actually attack Russia. The second thing is that she's correct in that they came out and they actually said, "Whoops, whoa, hey, yeah, we bit off a little more. We can chew with that one. We don't want to actually disrupt infrastructure." They came out and said that they're not actually political. They're strictly doing it for the money. The same hacker group, they don't attack hospitals. They don't attack like schools or they attack strictly. They try to attack capitalistic, people that they see as greedy. They're trying to be like a Robin Hood type deal. And you can't really blame them for coming out and saying, whoops, sorry, because at this point, the entire United States government is looking for these people, and there's going to be some severe consequences. So they are probably crapping their pants. They probably haven't been able to sleep for 1 second for the last, 5-7 days since.
How do you say in Russian? That was my bad.
Yeah, too late for that.
That's what they're saying.
Too late, but
you guys, yeah.
They came out and they said that they're not going to target. They're going to be much more selective with their targeting in the future, so that they don't do anything like this again. But again, that brings up that you have to question what happens when somebody actually wants to. So this hacker group, the way the ransomware stuff works is the internet is completely open, similar to how the roads are open. I could drive up to anybody's house at any time that I want, given that I have the time and energy to drive there, but the internet's instant. I can go to any address anywhere I want and just see what's on it. I could go to your computer, Delaney, if it was connected to the internet, and just, start looking around, say, hey, what ports you got open? Is there any vulnerabilities that I can get into? This stuff is all automated, running all the time, constantly, 24/7, 365 on the internet. So this dark side thing probably just stumbled across these computers that were running this infrastructure. It wasn't like a targeted thing. They didn't say, oh yeah, we want to hit this oil company. But imagine what happens when somebody does do that. When somebody says, I want to specifically target the power grid in America. I want to specifically target the oil grid or the hydroelectric dams or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? The nuclear power plants. That's when you're going to have some major problems. And that's only a matter of time. So.
That's hilarious that they weren't motivated, like they didn't have like any motivation to do this, and then they actually did it, and they're like, oh crap, my bad, how do I back up, delete. It's like, come on, you guys.
Yes.
What did you think was going to happen?
Stream is smooth now. Great. Awesome. That's what I like to hear.
Hell yeah.
Number 11 of the 12 mind control tactics, Simon says, is squeal on your neighbor. I don't know what that is, but it sounds accurate. Yeah, that's the society that we live in now. You distrust everyone. Find a reason to report people to the authorities. Synergy says, well, no shit. If Putin caught them, they'd vanish in a forest, die of polonium poisoning, or just disappear. Yeah, that's exactly why they... Well, I think there's a sense of honor, too, with the Russians. They don't attack their own country. but once you understand the different hacker groups and the way the different nationalities operate, China, for example, primarily wants intellectual property to steal technology and manufacture for their own. Russia, they're more monetary. They just want to do ransomware. They want to steal money. They want to, get you your bank account, stuff like that. They're doing it for the money and for the fun. So they don't want to steal from their own people. I think there's actually a sense of honor there.
Yeah, the Russians are pretty based on that, but that's just still like hilarious to me that they were like, "Oh, we're not mean. We didn't mean to hack and get as far as we did, but we did. So my bad. That was my bad."
Holly says, "Oh yeah, no freak out over Keystone. Yeah, right. No kidding." Holly says, "What does a normal pleb do to protect oneself?" Well, oh man. The most important thing you could do is use erase that, long passwords. Use long passwords that are different for all of your services, because the way that most people get hacked these days is they'll sign up for a service with an email and a password that they use everywhere, and then once one crappy service gets compromised and the passwords get leaked from that service, they'll use that to get into all your other stuff. So use long passwords, not complex ones, because complex ones are harder to remember. Long ones are easier to remember if you have a phrase. You say like, "I hate YouTube.com." That's my password. And that would be a great password because it's it's fairly long, or you could put a number on it or whatever. That's the first thing I'd do. Use long passwords and different ones. But then the basics, such as it's actually mostly behavioral based. Don't click on ads. Don't click on stuff you don't know what it's going to take you to. Basically, be very selective on what you click on and what you visit. And because 90% of the stuff that you're going to get is due to your own behavior, not due to somebody randomly just coming into your computer from out of, the internet and putting a virus on your computer or something like that. It's because of your behavior. I would say 95% of all hacks. You ever see somebody on Twitter say like, "Oh, my account got hacked"? No, you gave your password out to somebody who pretended to be Twitter support, and then they just logged in. You didn't get hacked. Same thing with Facebook. "Oh, my Facebook got hacked." No, you responded to a phishing email and you gave away your private information voluntarily because you didn't know what you were doing. So it's all, not all, but like I said, 95% behavioral based. You just got to be careful of what you give out, who you're talking to, what you're clicking on. If you do that, you're covering 95% of your ass.
Stay off free porn websites too, folks. That's the bad. That you got to stay away from those things.
Let's see here. Oh yeah, no, Doug, we didn't get yeeted from YouTube. It just happened to coincide with both of us moving. I moved across the country to Texas, and Delaney was moving as well within California. So we took some time off to do that. We did not get yeeted. I just got a warning. And
yeah, we've got warned, and we had a beta male dude report us in stereo, so we got booted off stereo for 24 hours as well.
Pimp My Sniper says, "I got banned from shitty stereo. How mad is that?" Yeah, well, we got a 24-hour ban. We got a 24-hour ban for, and this is the best part. The reason they gave was because we used alternate accounts or fake accounts. That's what they said the reasoning was. So this guy, this beta soy boy that Delaney was talking about, was just so mad that he pulled up the reporting list and he was like, "Whatever." The first thing he found, he just clicked on. He's like, "Yeah, they're using bot accounts." Clearly, they didn't do any kind of validation on that because we don't use bot accounts. So,
yeah, I'm a real person. I'm not a robot here. I'm not like that guy. And then that's even more hilarious because we got booted off of YouTube, got booted off of stereo, but DLive was there recording us, our reaction to the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
And a few people that were still watching us on DLive, they were like, "Hey," I think it was Osis in the YouTube chat. He like went and found that dude that got us booted and went on his Twitter, and we found his picture and we were like, "Oh wow, this guy, this is real." Wow,
the physiognomy is real, people. He is definitely a soy boy. That guy chugs 5 gallons of soy a day.
Yeah, it was just hilarious that he was trying to like appeal to me. He was trying to appeal to me as the female. He's like, "I don't know if you know this person, but this person is dangerous," in reference to Jeremy. And I was like, "Oh my God, really? No, you're the dangerous one trying to appeal to me as like the authority figure in this whole thing. Like, no, bro, go away. If you don't like what we have to say, just go away."
We got a comment from Let Me Live in Stereo from about 15 minutes ago. Sorry about that. We tend to go a little long on the rants here, but let's hear what she has to say.
Boo! Boo, you freaking white nationalists. Boo, you freaking white nationalists.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
That's exactly the kind of people that we're trying to talk to on Stereo. And we need more of that. And, I mean, let's be honest. Stereo is here because we can get the input of people who have retard level IQ like that. So she fell for the bait because what we do is we put alt-centrist in the description of the stream. So people see that. They're like, white nationalist. Just exactly like that soy boy did on the last stream right before we got banned. He's like, oh, I see what you're doing. You're like an alt-right guy. And the bait works. Let's just say that. The bait is effective. They can't even help themselves.
Well, I would say just looking at her avatar on Stereo, I would say that she's a fat person supremacist. So, boo, fat person supremacist. Boo, go away, you cow. Or should I say, moo, go away, moo. Yeah, she has Kool-Aid hair, Dari. She definitely, her avatar did.
Man. That's good. Thank you for that. That was. God.
That's what I'm here for. I'm here for the jokes.
The fatties. Are we gonna get kicked off of Stereo for calling her fat now? Probably will, yeah. Cause
maybe.
Yeah.
Probably will, because calling them fat is like too much, but calling us white nationalists is in the scope of okay.
Right, yeah, totally cool too.
I'm the brown one.
Right, and I'm black. I mean, I do identify as black, so there's that. Mm-hmm. Nobody here is white. So we've got a state of emergency in 17 states. That's pretty cool. I think that's a fun time for everybody. You know, the Middle East is blowing up, and we've got COVID. The lies about COVID are still being pushed. Now, this is where we got to be careful, because we talked about studies. All we were doing when we got banned from YouTube, or kicked off of YouTube.
We got kicked, yeah.
Stream 60, rip, forever rest in peace. Stream 60 is gone forever because we were talking about studies, people. We weren't offering any opinion. This is the important part. We had a list of 8 studies. Now, I'm not saying that these studies are the end-all be-all of the truth, the absolute truth. We're simply looking at scientific information that was created from reputable institutions and repeating their findings. That's all we did. So we're gonna try that one more time. Well, just one study this time. Maybe one is enough to not get us kicked off of streaming, but we're gonna give it a shot. This is a really interesting study. I think you guys are gonna find interesting, and I had to share it with you here. So there is a study that just came out that looked at the behavior of COVID skeptics and how they look at data. So it's kind of a meta COVID study about, the whole COVID thing is really degraded into, well, these people over here, they take everything that Fauci says as absolute truth, like he's Jesus, and everything he says is written on a stone tablet handed down from the mountaintop. And then these people over here, they look at reality and then interpret that on the fly and then react to it as they go. So, MIT researchers, people, this is who we're dealing with here. Let me pull up this tweet thread from Kami Lee Jones. Kami with a C at the front. It's a funny name. And we're going to go through just a few quotes from this study. You can pull this up on your own and read through it if you want. But the study is called Viral Visualizations, How Coronavirus Skeptics Use Orthodox Data Practices to Promote Unorthodox Science Online. And some noteworthy quotes from the study here. That's all we're going to go through is, again, this is all quotes directly from the study. So if I get banned, they are calling MIT misinformation. I am not saying anything of my own accord. This is quotes from the study. I know that's not going to stop me from getting kicked off, but just so you guys know, the whole point is to get banned so that you know that they're trying to control the narrative, right? That's kind of the whole point. So, indeed, anti-maskers often reveal themselves to be more sophisticated in their understanding of how scientific knowledge is socially constructed than their ideological adversaries who espouse naive realism about the, quote, objective truth of public health data. So the naive realism, can you think of anything related to COVID that might ring of images of naive realism, like, just wear a mask and everything will be fine, just get the vaccine, just lock everything down. Like, all you have to do is just wear the mask and everything's going to be great. Continue to stay locked down in your house, and that's all you need to do. Like, it's a limited variable problem in their heads where all you have to do is one or two things and then it's all fine. Obviously, that's not the case.
Just stay in your house forever, folks. Yeah. That's what they want you to do.
Right.
Forever.
Another good quote here. In other words, anti-maskers value unmediated access to information and privilege personal research and direct reading over, quote, expert interpretations. So the dichotomy that they're drawing here is similar to what I referred to already. Unmitigated access to the information. So just give me the papers, give me the scientific data, which is exactly what we do on this stream. We look at the studies directly. We don't look at somebody telling us how to interpret those studies. We look at this data and we come to our own conclusions. Whereas everybody on the left, they look at what the experts say, right? And then they take their interpretations as gospel. So those are the two classes that we're working with here. Now I would pose a question to you. Knowing what happened with experts in 2020 and how they were wrong about literally everything, first question, I guess there's two questions. First question is, why would anyone still trust experts? And second question is, who do you think would come up with the better predictive outcomes? So predictive meaning who's able to accurately predict the future? Somebody who looks at all the data that's unmolested, that is uninterpreted for them, and then they can make a decision on their own, or somebody who only follows what the experts say. The same experts that said, don't wear a mask, the same experts that said 14 days to slow the curve, that kind of stuff. The same experts that said that opening Texas and opening Missouri would lead to waves upon waves of surges. Those experts. So who do you think is more likely to interpret reality better?
I would say the person that tries to listen to all angles and not just listens to the expert.
Yeah, somebody in chat is bringing up how Rand Paul was interviewing or having a hearing with Fauci today, and he brought up the Wuhan funding, and he really he asked Fauci, "Do you support funding of the gain-of-function research in Wuhan?" Fauci kind of dodged the question. He said, "Well, we don't do that. We don't do that." And then Rand Paul asked if he supports giving any money to the Wuhan lab at all, and that's when Fauci he couldn't skirt his way around that one. He had basically admitted that they were giving money to the Wuhan Institute. But
I think at first he admitted that they were giving money to an institution here in the United States, I believe in North Carolina. They got him to admit that, and he was like, "But we haven't given anything to Wuhan." Mm-hmm. And then Rand Paul kind of pressed him again and was like, "Are you sure? Because I have Chinese scientists that say that you did. So Did you do it? Did you not do it? Like, you can't say you didn't do it when I have people that have come forward and said that you did and have documents to prove it."
Well, we already know the guy has lied in the past, so it's not going to be beyond his capabilities to lie again. I'm not saying he is. Again, I'm not saying he is or he isn't. YouTube overlords, I know there's 30 people from YouTube watching now. They're all obese with purple hair. I'm not saying that he's lying. I'm saying that he has lied in the past. Anyway, that's a little sidebar. Let's get back to this study here. There's another quote here. It said, its members... the people who are the skeptics, remember we're talking about COVID skeptics here, its members value individual initiative and ingenuity, trusting scientific analysis only insofar as they can replicate it themselves by accessing and manipulating the data firsthand. Wow. So again, they actually want to be...
So we got critical thinkers?
Yeah, no, we can't have any of that. We know that's That's
Oh, my bad.
basically
I
outlawed.
thought that's what science was all. I thought that's what science was all about critical thinking and testing hypotheses and verifying that your theory is correct. But I guess we're just going to throw away the scientific method that we've had for decades.
Well, that's really what it comes down to, is how people interpret science these days. Because some people interpret science as what science really is, which is a process. It's the scientific method, right? You propose a hypothesis, you test the hypothesis. Is it false? Then you need to revisit your hypothesis and then test it again. That's what I was taught in school. I don't know what you were taught in school. That's how I was taught to do it. So, I mean, I'm just doing what I was taught how to do. Now, I don't know what happened, but somewhere between then and now, society raised people who don't think for themselves, and they only listen to what other people say. They don't want to look at the data. They don't want to access it. They don't want to think about it. They don't want to test it. They just want to be told how to live and what to do. So, there's another good quote here. It says, "They are highly reflexive about the inherently biased nature of any analysis. Oh, and resent what they view as the arrogant self-righteousness of scientific elites." Wow. Well, the study's making these people sound pretty reasonable.
I mean, yeah, like it is MIT after all. So I think if anybody was going to be a little bit more on the reasonable side, it would be the geniuses over there.
And I want to scroll down to one of the most important ones here. Yet it said that let's see, where is it here? Well, let's look at this one. While these groups highly value scientific expertise, they also see collective analysis of data as a way to bring communities together within a time of crisis, and being able to transparently and dispassionately analyze the data is crucial for democratic governance. So, do these people sound, just from what the quotes that we've read so far from this study, do these people sound unhinged? Do they sound like science deniers?
No, they sound like actual true scientists that actually want to get to the bottom of it and give people accurate information and let people decide like what you want to do with your future.
Because this can be applied not only just to COVID, but keep in mind that this is the same mentality that these people have for all things, all issues like climate change, global warming. I'm not going to use the euphemism of climate change. We'll just call it global warming because that's what they wanted to call it back then. This is the same thing. They're not denying the climate is changing. They simply have questions. Like, one easy question that comes to the top of my head is, can you tell me what percentage of the climate change is caused by humans? Can you just give me... You would think that would be a reasonable question to ask, right? But obviously they can't answer that. And then when you ask that question, well, you're a science denier because you don't just accept what the experts tell you outright, which is what they want you to do.
Or when you do ask that question, Jeremy, about climate change, global warming, whatever you want to call it, like what percentage is caused by humans, the only thing that they can give you is, well, 97% of climate scientists say that it's caused by humans. And it's like, okay, that's fine, but we're asking what percentage is the scientist saying is caused by humans. You're only giving me like percentage of like what the scientists agree on. And I want to know what the other 3% are saying, because if you're saying it's 97%, what are the 3% saying? That's what I'm more concerned about. Like, I want to know what the opposite is saying and like what they believe, because it's good to listen to both sides, not just go with the majority rule. Oh, I know. That's just too, that's just too bad. I know I'm a terrible, terrible person.
Yeah. But there's also some great lines going across in the YouTube chat right now. Bill's in the chat. Bill's in the house. What's up, Bill? Thanks for joining, buddy. Good to see you again. He says, breathing is racist because George couldn't. Let that one sink in there for you. But back to this thing. In both of these stories we've covered tonight so far, just the gas thing, and now the this study about the COVID skeptics, you can see, if your eyes are open, you can see the authoritarian tendencies everywhere in the left. The gas story, they want to report you to the authorities for gas. They want to control, from a central authority, they want to control your ability to consume gas. And with the COVID thing, there's a clear indication that everyone on the left who's all for the masks, all for the vaccinations and everything, they cede all of their questions, all of their decision-making processes, all of their critical thinking to an authority figure, an expert. So expert is a euphemism in this case for an authority figure. And you can, I mean, it's just so apparent to me that everywhere you look, these people are true authoritarians, while they're running around calling everybody a fascist. But we all know that they love to project their tendencies onto others, and it is effective. Actually, I'll give it to them. I'll give it to them on that. It has been effective, because then what happens is people on the right, the people who are trying to make these scientifically valid arguments for not wearing masks, or just simply asking, where's the data that shows masks work? Mm-hmm. They're stuck defending themselves by saying, well, I'm not an authoritarian, I'm not a fascist. You're in the trap. That's the trap. Okay? You don't want to, if you're defending yourself from claims of fascism and authoritarianism, you're in the trap, and their trap worked on you. So don't fall into the trap. Okay? That's the moral of the story. Let's see. Doug Master says they've had scientists testify in Congress, and they've said even if the U.S. went completely net zero on carbon emissions, it would be like a drop in the bucket the size of the ocean. And
correct.
Whoops. Why is my...
Because
Oh, I see what was happening. I had the stream on the stream. So now the stream is in the stream is in the stream. So enjoy that while you get that.
Inception, folks.
Mm-hmm. I told you, I'm a little rusty, okay? It's been a week. Cut me a little slack here. Dari says the question is, do humans have the cows beat? So now we're starting to see the narrative. I don't know if you guys noticed this. See, we talked about how the narrative was going to change over to climate change, right? Well, let's see. We've got fire starting in California. I had to drive through the smell of burning feces to get to Texas, by the way. Like, I got out of there just in time. And it's drier than last year. Drier than last year when you could not even go outside for 2 months or 3 months. You couldn't even go outside for 3 months, and this year is drier than that. You've got Bill Gates buying all the land to make bug farms or whatever he's going to do. Who even knows, really? You've got this climate change stuff coming up now. It's coming up. It's coming out of the woodwork. We're starting to see this slow transition over to the climate change narrative from the COVID narrative. So, and I think they're actually going to kind of merge in a way. The gas stuff. Obviously, the gas pipeline is going to be used to talk about. Well, it's going to be twist for their narratives, because what we should be talking about with the gas thing is, hey, what about the Keystone Pipeline? What about reinforcing our infrastructure, not spending money on childcare for infrastructure and actual infrastructure. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. But, it's we're going to see a transition into climate change. And the India narrative is dying down. India is dying down. The India thing is not really as shocking or scary anymore. They're trying to really scare people. I don't know if you've seen this one, but they're talking about how people are having to burn corpses in the streets in India. Now, if you know anything about India, that will not surprise you. You're like, oh, they're burning corpses in the streets? That sounds like a normal day in India. Because it is. That's a normal day in India. They burn corpses, and then they just dump the ashes in the river. That's normal. But for the retards that consume mass media, they see that story like, oh my God, they're burning corpses in the streets. It must be so bad. It's exactly what they were doing when this thing first came out in China, and they were spreading fear porn, fear stories like, oh, one guy took a dump in his apartment, and just flushing the toilet after he took a dump spread the virus through the air vents to the entire apartment complex. Stuff like that. They were really telling us that. So, I'm just saying, it's just be prepared.
Well, I mean, India is still like not like I was looking through the Google News, and India is definitely not dying down. But you're right about them like trying to pump it up even more than it really should be.
The narrative,
like I get it, like the narrative. It's just it's scary over there, but sorry, I'm still not as worried about it as I should.
Agreed. I think it's exactly what you'd expect to see, and I'm still waiting for that Indian variant. I heard it. I heard we already had it in the United States. I'm still waiting for that to just start killing millions of people. Still waiting for the Colombia variant. Still waiting for the Brazilian variant. Still waiting for B117 variant. But every time they talk about the variants, it's kind of a dud. And everything's open here in Texas. Every single store I've gone to, except for Costco, it was the only one I couldn't get away with it. I was not wearing a mask. I didn't wear a mask in Target. I didn't wear a mask in the restaurants. I don't wear a mask in the bars. I didn't wear a mask. Nowhere I've gone, I've not worn a mask, and nobody said anything. They don't care. So why aren't the variants just destroying everybody out here?
Yeah, same here. I haven't been wearing a mask like anywhere that I go. I don't care. And if I walk in, I don't wear a mask. I smile at the clerk. I wave. I'm like, hey, how are you doing? They don't say anything. They're like, oh, hi, how are you doing? Have a nice day. Thank you for coming. It's like, yeah, you're not going to deny my money now that it's been a year and people have been sheltering in place and not buying crap from you for a whole year.
We got OSIS in stereo.
It just came out last week that China greenhouse gas emissions for 2019 were more than the rest of the industrialized world combined. Wow. So guess who needs to start taking care of their greenhouse gas emissions to stop man-made climate change? You guessed it, it's China. And guess who's going to tell the whole world to fuck off? That's right, China again. So Greta Thunberg needs to get her ass to China and start wagging her finger in Xi Jinping's face. And I want to see Winnie the Pooh bite that shit off.
How dare you? Yep, that's why this whole climate change thing is going to be really hard for people to swallow. And this goes back exactly to the study we just talked about, where the skeptics, who actually look at the real data, guys like us, where we care about the truth, we care about the data, we know that China's doing all the polluting. Okay, China's doing the polluting. Okay, we know that, and nobody's going to say, especially not Biden, because he's getting who knows how much money from China. He's not going to go and say, well, all right, look here, Buster, you need to stop those factories or whatever, stop those coal plants, and that's never going to happen. No one's ever going to hold China accountable. We already all know that. Yeah, so good call out on that, Osis.
Yeah, China is really, really bad when it comes to pollution. And I mean, they buy our garbage from us and then dump it in the oceans for us, or send it to or they send it to Indonesia to burn it for us. So what does that tell you about China and their practices and how they do stuff? It's ridiculous.
That's the most American thing I've ever heard. Somebody else buys our trash and burns it for us.
Mm-hmm. Yep, buys it, sells it to Indonesia, burns it for us too. It's hilarious.
That's great. Oh, that is truly a 21st century artifact right there. We got Synergy.
COVID isn't killing everyone in Texas because welcome to Texas, and holy fuck, man, the sun will kill you faster than that goddamn fake ass pissant virus.
Oh,
yeah,
I love it.
The sun or the humidity. It might be a combination of both, but yeah, it's definitely it's rough. It's fairly rough. But I've been weathered, no pun intended, in the Arizona desert, so I'm used to it. I've been all across the spectrum. I don't know how many.
Jeremy will be okay.
I don't know how so many people tolerate that. Now that I'm here and I've experienced it, I don't know how. Cause Houston is literally the biggest city I've ever seen. I think it's bigger than like Shanghai. It's the biggest city I've ever seen in my life. It's like multiple cities in one. There's a lot of people here, and they all tolerate that. So I don't know how they do it. Dari says, we've known for years China's coal-burning methods are antiquated. Yeah, and guess what? We don't do anything because, how else are we going to get cheap Nikes? I don't want to pay $300 for my Nikes, okay? I want to have... So, this is how absurd the global economy is with China producing everything. We'll grow oranges or whatever in Brazil. They'll ship them to China to get packaged, and then China will ship it to America. You know how much gas those freighters have to, burn through? It kills like 1,000 dolphins just for running for one day with all that gas. So Nobody cares about
Think
that.
of the dolphins, folks.
Seriously.
Think of the dolphins.
Yeah, and if you don't care about dolphins, just imagine turtles getting slaughtered. Then I'm sure we can find some emotional trigger for you that will get you to care about this issue. Or maybe it's just the Nikes themselves. I think most people care more about the Nikes than the turtles, to be honest.
Yeah, well, most Americans do. Like they say they care about the turtles, or they say they care about humanity, but they don't care that their shoes and their clothes were assembled by slave labor in China. They don't even do they don't even do their 2 bits of research on that.
That's the other thing that's going to be interesting to watch is the clash between the COVID narrative and the climate change narrative when we find out. It's already happening, but when the public finds out that PPE, the masks and stuff are just completely destroying the oceans, habitats, animals are getting choked by gloves. We talked about it in, I think, the last stream as well. But it's so fascinating to see when guys like us, people, you watch the stream, so you're more informed than everybody else. You know this stuff is happening in the background. In reality, dolphins are getting choked by masks right now, but the rest of the world is simply waiting until the media decides to talk about that before they can care about it, or before they even know about it. It's not like they're choosing to care about it. They just simply don't even know that it's happening. They don't live in reality, as this MIT study we just reviewed would indicate. They just wait for the experts. And then they don't make any decisions at all. They just do whatever the experts say, which I think is, again, I make the analogy to people these days. They more represent vegetables than they do human beings, because a vegetable doesn't make any decisions. It simply reacts to stimulus. When you give it water, it'll grow. When you give it sunlight, it'll move towards the sun. It'll grow leaves or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It reacts to stimulus in its pre-programmed way. It doesn't decide to do anything. It doesn't choose to do anything. That's what these people are. They're literally vegetables. So you and I, and all the people in chat, because those are the smart ones, we have to live with these vegetables, or these zombies, or whatever you want to call them. And I don't know. It's a tough spot that we're in. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, it is. I know. It's sad when you kind of realize that. Like, even just over the weekend on Mother's Day, just talking to family members and just the crap that they're talking about. It's like, y'all are really like so misinformed about so many things. Like, one of my family members, they're like, oh, the CIA is saying they're going to release documents about how extraterrestrial life has come on this planet. And I'm over here just like, I'm like, you're really like just getting on this? Like, they've said this for years,
so
dude.
2 months
like, how
ago.
are you? Yeah, well, even Obama really unsealed classified documents stating that there has been extraterrestrial life that has landed on this planet and UFOs and stuff like that, or just unexplained phenomenon, unexplained vehicles that have been caught in the sky. And I'm like, you are just now hopping on this like because the New York Times tells you that it's true, dude.
Right.
You gotta like open your scope up a little bit more. And like, yeah, the New York Times is trusted, but they're really not that trusted anymore, especially with all the stuff coming out.
Again, vegetables. Those are vegetables, because people like us, we actually actively seek the truth. That's the difference. We actively seek the truth, whereas they sit there like a plant does, and it just waits for the stimulus to come in, and then they react accordingly. People like us, we take a little more proactive approach to life. We go out and actually try to seek the truth so that we can preempt whatever the experts say and make our own decisions, because we have agency. We have our own willpower, and these people do not. So,
and I think also too, especially like me and like, because the people I'm talking about, they're a little bit older, so they weren't raised with technology like you and I have been. They weren't raised with the internet. They weren't raised with the ability and the capacity to like get on the internet and try to seek the truth and like get different points of view as well. And I think that has a lot to do with it. But there's a lot of older people that are waking up and starting to get on the internet train and being like doing their own research and, learning and adapting and figuring this stuff out and not letting technology hold them back. But it's just the rate of growth for these people is just very, very small.
I don't even know if technology would be like a bottleneck per se. I think it's neutral. It's a net neutral, because technology facilitates you being inundated to the point to where you can't even comprehend the level of information that's coming into you. But on the flip side, it also allows you to find the truth if you're willing to go out there and actually search for it. So, because some old people, they get online and they're like, oh, they don't even know where to start. They don't even know what to do. Maybe they'll just go to Yahoo or whatever, and whatever's on the front page of Yahoo, that's it. But
Ask Jeeves.
Yeah, if you go to the sites that I go to, like the dark web stuff, you got to get a VPN to even get to. Then you can find. No, I'm just kidding. I don't go to those. Please don't come after me, FBI. But you know what I'm saying? There's levels to it. You can find the truth if you really want to, but it takes a lot of energy. So I don't know. It's I think it's a net neutral overall. It's just a matter of whatever your personality is, it will amplify that. The technology amplifies whatever your personality type is. If you just simply recede to whatever authority says, technology allows you to do that in spades, because you just pull up Twitter. All right, what did Fauci say today? What did Rachel Maddow say today? Okay, this is now my opinion. I'm done. Or people like us, we're like, all right, what does Rachel Maddow say? What does Fauci say? What does the CDC say? What do the latest studies say? What does historical data say? What is, we look at a more holistic picture for the truth and try to determine what the truth is ourselves. So the technology is just amplifying those personality types, and you could argue that technology is destroying civilization. And I saw Bill put in chat, civilization destroys everything, or something along those lines. And it's that's not a hard argument to make.
Right. I mean, I think it's the people that wield the technology is the problem, honestly. There's just too many irresponsible people, like those Russian hackers that hacked our pipeline that were like, oh, we just did it for fun. It's like, oh, okay. It caused mayhem and all kinds of problems for fun. Yeah, great. Y'all are a bunch of gems.
Doug says it's like the people that are too smart, they can't even socialize, like you've mentioned on here in the past. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Yeah, once you're at a certain intelligence level, you can't really communicate with the general public, at least on an effective level. Case in point would be somebody like Eric Weinstein, or Weinstein. I can't remember which way he prefers to pronounce it. But the dude is a genius, obviously. He's a mathematician, a physicist, and like an economist or something like that. He works with Peter Thiel. And anytime he tries to explain something, it's just like, dude, nobody is going to get what you're saying. Can you...
Nobody's understanding you.
Yeah, you got to talk like a little... Just pretend like you got dropped on your head as a kid, and then say it. Because it's not coming through. It doesn't come through to the average person. It's not effective communication. And sometimes there's probably... sometimes I suffer from that as well. When I try to talk to normies about some of this stuff, it's like... You forget about how deep you are into it and how much knowledge you have that they don't have. So you got to be careful.
Yeah, you have to play the stupid card a little bit when you're dealing with normies.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. We got 2 comments that just came in on the stereo. Let's jump to that. This one's Osis.
Boomers are the bane of my existence. All they do is read the headline on Washington Post or whatever MSN puts on their homepage. So not only are they getting lied to, but they're too lazy to even go farther than the headline on an article these days. My faith in the older generations is extremely diminished.
I mean, I know young people that do that crap too, so it does happen a lot more with boomers, but I know quite a few youngins, like my age and younger, that just see the headline reposted on Twitter and are like, outraged. And then when you actually read the article, it's like, this is actually not that big of a deal. But your reaction is the bigger problem, in my opinion.
This is largely speculation on my part, but I'm just thinking out loud, because that's what we do here. We actually do think. We think out loud. The older generations are probably more used to the headlines being true, because there was a time in their life that the headlines were true. So they probably just didn't adapt. They don't understand that. It's turned into, capitalism has really morphed journalism into a game of getting clicks. And a lot of them don't even understand that. They don't understand what getting clicks means, because it's all about selling the ad revenue off of how many people click and read the stories as opposed to being truthful. That's the transition that's happened, and it's kind of left them in the dust. So I don't blame them at all for taking the headlines as gospel, but you're right, man. They're not even accurate most of the time.
Yeah, they like back when they were young, and journalism was actually a real thing. The journalists were very trusted, and the journalists actually did have to really fact check and make sure that they are on their game before publishing whatever it is they're talking about. Nowadays,
they had standards.
These journalists, they had standards back then. Nowadays, the journalists can just blatantly lie, publish it, get caught lying, and then all they have to do is publish something later saying like, "Oh, sorry, I was misinformed, or I had bad information. Apologies."
Yeah,
but once the lie's been told, it's hard to undo it.
Not only is there no consequences for telling a lie, but the bar for even saying something out loud in the first place is so low. Think about, you used to have 3 sources for your information before you could say it with any confidence. Right now, what do people say? Oh, an anonymous source said Biden or said Trump had an affair with this anonymous source. What does that even mean? You just made that up, dude. Anonymous source that will never be verified. Nobody will ever come out, and it's like the Matt Gaetz thing. Anonymous sources said that he was at a party and there was drugs at the party, and there was also women there who were using dating apps. Like, oh no, anonymous sources strike again. Everything that happens these days, just you got to be really conscious of that. Anytime you see anonymous sources or an inside source or a source close to the White House or something like that, 99% of the time it's absolute BS.
Just lying to sell the headline to get you to click on it. It's garbage.
Let's see. PJ Fan says aliens are scared of people who wear masks, so keep your mask on. Doug says, Jeremy, do you think we are in the 4th turning? We're going through a dark period, but the aftermath will be the light at the end of the tunnel, bringing about the next great time period for the new generation. Yes, I do think that's accurate. I don't know if that's a terminology I would use, but I do believe that society is on a cyclical pattern where societies rise and fall, and the time scale is the only question. What is the time frame for how long this particular phase of the cycle lasts? That's the only question that's really out there. Whether or not there's a cycle, if you look at history, that's very obvious. You can see even societies like, Rome, who lasted thousands of years, I think, in different forms anyway. They, they're not here anymore. You got a crappy little Italy nobody cares about. They make good pizza and they have olive oil, but who cares otherwise? And they've got some cool ruins you can go to. That's, eventually America will probably be in a situation like that where we have some great ruins you can come and visit and be like, oh, wow, yeah, remember when they used to do, before their society got hyper-feminized and before they started chopping off their private parts and, just allowing other countries
injecting
to dominate them.
Injecting themselves with experimental vaccinations.
Ooh, and there goes my YouTube channel.
Yeah, there goes YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. No, you guys get the point.
I'm thinking Zombieland. That's going to be what's going to be. There's going to be all like the vestiges of the White House and what's it called, Graceland, and people are just like, just go and stay in there all by yourself. Don't need to pay. Don't need to do nothing. Just need to fight through some zombies to get to it.
Simon says, I hate to tell you that light at the end of the tunnel is a freight train coming right at us. It's called the Great Reset. Well, yeah, I have my own analogy for this, and I call it the flood, which is just a reference to the biblical usage of the flood, where the flood was basically like cleaning off the entire planet, starting over again, because society in general just got too, I don't know, what's the word, degenerate, maybe? That's a good way to put it. So, yeah, if you want to, you could take a mythological perspective on it too, with some kind of great disaster is coming, and it's really just a matter of whether or not we can actually survive it. And if we do, yes, we'll come out ahead, hopefully. Or there's also people who say that we are in the midst of a great intelligence decline. The average IQ worldwide is decreasing, and once something catastrophic happens, we're going to be sent back essentially IQ-wise, intelligence-wise, and knowledge-wise back to the Dark Ages. And that's a little bit more of a pessimistic outlook on it, but that's kind of the whole reason behind my strategy, which is to fortify, preserve modernity and American values in small breakaway societies, because there is a catastrophe coming, and the way to survive and come out on top is to have all the knowledge and the principles of America and the technology that we have to be able to recreate society after that. If you don't have that, then you basically are going to be starting from the dark age again with low IQ people who don't have the information, the knowledge to do all this stuff. If you take the average college campus right now, and you took everybody on that college campus and you shipped them out to the middle of nowhere, and you said, okay, you have to live on your own now. You have to start a farm. You have to become subsistence farmers. You have to create your own food. You have to survive on your own. You have to know your own medical treatments. You have to be able to deliver babies. You have to do medical treatment on your own. Do you think that would survive? Do you think that would last? They'd be all dead within a month. Okay?
Yeah.
Because we do not have the knowledge to do that stuff anymore, because we've become so accustomed to modernity, which again is another reason why I say you have to retreat back to a more harsh version of society. You have to intentionally introduce harshness into your life so that you're not going to be caught with your pants down when the situation like that comes.
Yeah, they would all starve to death because they'd all be too afraid to kill a damn rabbit in order to survive.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Oh, I don't want to kill the rabbit. Synergy says,
I don't want to kill it. It has a soul.
Synergy says, Tim Pool has documented ad nauseum media narratives contradicted with the most cursory Google search in the world. Journalism, if it ever was alive, now is truly dead. Yeah, that's kind of his gig, is, just pointing out the hypocrisy of the media. And I think I'm a few steps beyond that, where I'm looking at more of a plan to preserve society after the downfall, I guess you could say. That's what I'm a lot more interested in. After the train hits us, as the analogy goes in chat. I'm sure you guys saw what the crazy Canadian government did to that church pastor this past weekend, says Doug Masters, arresting him for opening his church after giving them pushback on Easter several weeks ago. Yeah, well.
Hell yeah.
Authoritarianism. Everywhere you look,
Welcome to Canada.
Everywhere you look, you can see the left embracing authoritarianism. That's just yet another example. Anthony says, you will own nothing and be happy about it. Yep, that's where society's going, man. We got a bunch of comments that came in. Let's go to Stereo. This guy's name is Patriots Against Tyranny.
The only issue that I have with the main story that all the major news networks seem to be running with is that the Russian hacker group DarkSide is responsible for hacking the Colonial pipeline. The issue I have is the Russians apparently seem to be quite the busy little bees. They allegedly, in quotations, tampered with the 2016 election, allegedly have been behind all other kinds of issues, and now apparently are also allegedly attacking the Colonial pipeline, which has cut off a third of the fuel for the entire United States, which only seems to run through red states which have lifted their mask mandates. Wow, that's really weird. Why is the UN not sanctioning Russia? That's really weird.
Yeah, it's a good question. Good question. Yeah, Russia has been busy hacking our elections. No.
Well, I mean, according to the guys that did the hack, they did it for fun. It wasn't like politically motivated, according to them. You can't really take them very seriously, because to me, it's like anybody that hacks our infrastructure like that for fun is a total loser. But yeah, man, I agree. It's a weird thing that happened, and we kind of talked about it in the beginning about how this is a way bigger issue that nobody seems to want to address because it's too complex.
Well, I mean, again, it goes back to the point that I was originally making about cyber attacks and whether you consider that an active war. So there's a gray area with all these cyber attacks in that you don't really know for sure. Same thing with the Russian collusion, Russian hacks of 2016. You can't ever really 100% say for certain that it's a state actor from Russia doing it, like it's actually Russia, the government doing it, or if it's just some guys in Russia doing it, like Cozy Bear or one of these other hacker groups, Dark Side, whatever it is. They all have really stupid names. But a lot of them, most of them, are probably just individual hacker groups within Russia. They weren't, and I think that's actually how 2016 went down. 2016, there was some interference or something from Cozy Bear or some other hacker group that was not the government, but the way that the left got away with blaming it on Russia, we heard Russia for 4 years straight, right? Russia, was because they said Putin told them to do it on their behalf, on behalf of Russia. Go hack them. Which, how can you ever actually know that? I mean, the FBI is still trying to find Louis, who lives in a trailer, who went to storm the Capitol. You think they can tell when a cyber attack is being sanctioned by the state of Russia or some guys in a basement? The answer is no. And, when their top consultants like FireEye are getting hacked by Russia, no, they cannot tell you for certain whether or not this is actually coming from state actors or from private actors. But they'll blame it on state actors every time because that's what, facilitates their narrative of Russia bad, right? So, Patriots had another comment here.
But no, in conjunction with my last comment, no, it seems as though for some reason, although we know that Chernobyl killed the Soviet Union, for some reason there is much to fear in the East because of the Red Menace, apparently. Russia is behind every single ill that the American government seems to be suffering from at the moment. I just think it's a tad bit odd.
And not China.
Never mind that nobody's paying attention to why China wants Taiwan back because of the mass production of advanced semiconductors. It's absolute trash. Absolute drivel. The U.S. government is now into price gouging, much like Menards was with water treatment equipment at the beginning of the pandemic.
There you go. And I think you put it aptly. Just absolute trash, yeah. Those who are actually paying attention, we all know it's absolute trash. Let's see here. Osis had another comment.
Well, I don't entirely agree with that because, as we know, the Hearst publication, when he bought all the newspapers around the country, yellow journalism was a huge problem. So I guess maybe that intermediary between newspapers and TV, they started to believe people. I don't know why, but they shouldn't have, because the TV lied. Walter Cronkite was a giant liar, and he's held up as this axiom of truth-telling. These people have no intellectual curiosity. They want to be spoon-fed, and as long as it feeds their confirmation bias, they're happy.
Speaking of no intellectual curiosity, we've got another visit from our friend here.
Free Palestine! Fuck the Zionists! Free Palestine!
Oh, she's.
That's great. You know what?
We found our protester in the crowd.
You know what's funny? Well, you can tell. See, they can only communicate in very short sentences that have like 2 or 3 words in it, and then they just repeat that, like boo fascist, free Palestine, stuff like that. But anyway, I thought this was funny. I was going to talk about this as well, but Andrew Yang came out on Twitter a couple of days ago, and he was basically said, "You know what? I stand with Israel. I think it's unacceptable that Palestine is launching missiles into civilian towns in Israel, or whatever." It's paraphrasing. The point is, Andrew Yang, a leftist, came out in favor of Israel, which is, devoid of any critical thinking. It's against the monolithic set of beliefs that you're supposed to have as a leftist. So, people like this woman here would probably come out and say, and I'm curious, do you hate Andrew Yang now? Let me live. If you're still
Probably.
in chat, do you now hate Andrew Yang because he came out in favor of Israel? And they bombed schools. Luckily, there was nobody in the school, but I saw today they hit schools. They blew up a bunch of stuff. They're just launching missiles just indiscriminately into the cities in Israel. So, You would think that it would be too far-fetched to come out against something like that. But the leftist monolithic narrative is you always support Palestine over Israel no matter what happens, no matter what the consequences are, what the circumstances are. It's always Palestine over Israel. That's it. No critical thinking allowed.
I mean, if I didn't know what was going on with this whole situation in Israel, which I understand, but if I was just like a fresh up and coming person that was trying to figure out where I should put my support, I'm sorry, I'm not going to put my support to the people that are launching the missiles and harming people that is unprovoked. I mean, in their minds, it's totally provoked, but in actuality, like, it's not like Israel was launching a ton of missiles at them. It's the opposite. So why would I support the people that are launching the missiles, not the ones that are like defending from the missiles?
Now, I gotta admit fully here that the Israel stuff, anything Israel-wise, is the least interesting story for me. So I don't know much about it.
Yeah.
But I do know that Israel was firing back, and I've seen videos of Israel destroying entire buildings with missiles, like buildings coming down 9/11 style in Gaza.
Hell yeah.
Because of, and I don't know if that's retaliation or what, but the point is, it's more complex than go Packers, Vikings, terrible. I love Packers. No matter.
Free Palestine.
Yeah.
F the Zionists.
It's literally nothing more complex than rooting for a sports team because they refuse.
Yeah, and then here's me over here. Like, I don't care about either one. Both are stupid.
There you go. Yeah, I'm also pretty much in the same boat. And yeah, I get there's some consequences for the greater circumstances in the Middle East, but I'm more worried about my own.
Let them handle it. Yeah, let them handle it. It's their own business.
PJ Fan says,
like, let them handle.
PJ Fan says, oh, come on, Palestine only fired 600 rockets into Israel. It's only 600.
Right, yeah, just 600, and then they had the Iron Dome protecting them, which was actually, if you see the video footage of the Iron Dome working, it's actually kind of badass.
It's impressive. Yeah, it is impressive. I do recommend you guys check that out. I did see some of those videos today, and I think, it was happening during the day too, because it's, the time difference. Everything happens at night, so yeah. Well,
that lady was funny. I bet she'd be a joy to talk to.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure she's the life of the party. We got comments here from Patriots Against Tyranny.
Well, that's the other problem. Okay, every single civilized first world nation has had a revolution about every 100 years. And the sad part is that in America, this never took place. Not since our inception as a nation. And now what they've done is we are literally taking the route of Rome. Games to keep the people occupied.
Yep.
Liars in your government who are literally making money off of your suffering. Companies now control government legislatures making money on bills that are passed. So they've convinced you that no such revolution is necessary because everything is fine the way that it is. Because that's what Bolshevists do. They take regression and label it as progress.
Absolutely.
This reminds me of a story I got to tell you guys. So on my way through to Texas, I traveled through Arizona, and I stopped at my parents' house and I watched TV for the first time in probably like 3 years. Now, there's two stories in one here. So the first one is exactly what he just said. I was watching the movie Gladiator. Gladiator came on, and I was watching. I was like, I haven't seen this in a while, but this looks oddly familiar to what we're dealing with today. Let's see, they're dealing with like a plague that's ravaging their people. Their entire society is distracted by the Colosseum, right? That's what the whole movie's about, is the gladiators in the Colosseum. And their government is just full of corrupt people. This is really really analogous to what's happening right now. So I thought that was fascinating. But in between watching the past version of what's happening to America right now, I got commercials, and the commercials were, if you guys watch TV, you've seen these. But to me, this was like imagine showing a high definition TV to somebody who's never seen a TV before. The level of shock that I had at the commercials that were happening between the show was astronomical. I had no idea the propaganda was this bad. So one commercial comes on, it's like NerdWallet or something like that. It's like, I want to donate to black-owned businesses. That's why I want NerdWallet. Okay, all right. So you got the black propaganda in the one commercial. Next commercial comes on. It's like a drug for gay dudes, so they can they can have partake in their degeneracy and not have to worry about AIDS or herpes or whatever it was. Another commercial there. Another commercial comes on for who knows what, and guess what? It's like 2 interracial couples are featured on there. They got like, no, it was 2 moms. It was 2 moms with a black baby or something like that. I was like, dude, 4 commercials in a row of just insane propaganda as I'm watching a story about how Rome collapsed because they were sedated by entertainment. And I had just the craziest like time warp mind thing that was happening. I was like, this is Rome right now. I'm in Rome. I'm just watching the gladiators right now. I'm watching Gladiator on TV, but I'm also in the arena at the Coliseum right now watching the gladiators.
The whole debate between Trump and Biden back, October, whatever it was, that was like Gladiator for me. I was like, oh yeah, watching these 2 giants go at it, like, let's see it. And then it was it's crazy what's going on. Like, you're right, it is Rome. I've the more I've studied about that stuff, the more I'm realizing like I'm in the middle of like Rome right now. And it's true. Like, we're distracting ourselves with sports, with COVID, with all this stuff that has nothing to do with anything, like nothing to do with our day-to-day life, but we distract ourselves with it. And just because it's easier than actually facing the fact that we're on the downhill slide right now.
All right. We got Synergy.
Jeremy, everything you said about a collapse and a loss of knowledge, Graham Hancock on JRE talked about, and you can YouTube or Google search it.
I've seen
or
it all.
Duck it. Graham Hancock's theory about ancient civilizations, the idea that there was a pre-modern civilization predating early human history that was basically wiped out by a meteor that we found the crater of in Greenland circa, I think it was 12,000 years ago.
I love Graham Hancock. I love Robert Schoch, and I love the other geologist guy that he has on there, because that's exactly the problem that people have in modern society today. And this is what I was telling my parents too. It was like, people, when they talk about fighting back, when they talk about preserving society, the one thing they're not really taking into account is time scales. And the exact example I gave, Synergy, it's funny that you mentioned that, because the exact example I gave to them was, imagine if there was societies of pre-Egyptian people that preserved the knowledge of how to make the pyramids, and we didn't have to sit around and guess about how they were built. They came out of the woodwork, or they were perpetuated through society, through time, and they just, hey, you know what? We withstood whatever it was that destroyed all the other Egyptians, but this is how they built the pyramids. That's what we need to do, because we need to take long time periods into account, not political cycles, not 50 years, not 2 generations, not 3 generations, thousands of years. You want this stuff to persist, okay? That's the time scales that I'm working on, and that's the exact example that I gave. But yeah, thanks for that suggestion. I definitely do love Graham Hancock and his stuff.
I'll definitely check that out too, because it sounds interesting.
Yeah, basically the idea is, the pyramids were built by pre-Egyptian societies, and they're no longer around. There's no historical records. There's nothing that tells us how they were built or how all that stuff came to be. So we just have to guess, because they didn't preserve their knowledge. So, or aliens built it. It could be that too.
I'm going for the aliens.
Let's see. We got another comment here from Moneypenny.
I'm exhausted. All this Hair Bear bunch, Cozy Bear, Paddington Bear, whatever, playing with a load of Russians and getting covered in oil whilst doing some computer game with a load of people who went, oh, that was fun, let's try something else. But big news this week, and why haven't you mentioned it? Not only the WHO, Fauci, everybody worldwide, it's now been confirmed that, oops, there might have been a mistake in a lab in Wuhan and nobody's saying no to it this time. Oh, and shocker law, 700 people that were tested in Italy in August 2019 were found to be carrying COVID-19, which is strange because it wasn't meant to be around in August, was it? Or was it? Yeah, kind of strange. Anyway, that's big news because now we know there's an origin to a COVID virus that needs to be re-examined, and WHO are being very, very tight-lipped about it.
Well, of course they are. They don't want accountability. I don't want that on them. Why would they?
Well,
they don't want the heat for killing all the people this past year.
I've been listening to Brett Weinstein. Again, I don't know how they prefer to pronounce their last name, but he's a biologist with a podcast who got tied up in the social justice stuff. He's primarily a biologist, not a cultural guy. I take his opinions on cultural stuff very lightly, but he is a biologist, and he called the lab leak thing pretty much before anyone else did. And ever since then, I've been really tuned into trying to watch the efforts of America to uncover the origins of COVID. And we've mentioned it here on the stream a few times, how there's really doesn't seem to be any actual concerted effort to figure out how and why and where this thing came from. And that's been probably the biggest red flag for me as far as the whole COVID narratives go since day one. Is you would think that'd be the absolute first thing that you would do is figure out where it came from, why it spread into humans, and how, and answer those questions so that we know how to create a vaccine, how to handle it, how to, if it's going to happen again, what kind of variants are going to come about, if we need to close down any laboratories. But the lab leak hypothesis is getting stronger and stronger every single day. And people are simply just ignoring it. The media is just ignoring it, hoping that you will also ignore it too. And if you look at what we've done so far to try and identify that, Rand Paul, for example, he goes after Fauci for his connections with the Wuhan lab, but I don't know the guy's name, but there's one guy who also has close connections with the Wuhan lab that the WHO sent in as the lead investigator to look at. You send the guy that basically works there to investigate it and expect like an objective outcome to that. It all seems very scammy, and that's what biologists like Brett are talking about, that this guy should not be the one, and he is the one who has been leading the investigative efforts, and until that changes, there's no indication that anybody's taking the investigation seriously. So.
Well, yeah, they know why the people aren't caring so much is because Dr. Fauci is going in front of Congress and saying, you guys are lying, don't look at me. And people trust Fauci. Again, it's the whole narrative of trust the experts. Trust Fauci because he would never lie. Why would he lie? Mm-hmm. He doesn't have any reason to lie. It's not like he's one of the highest paid public servants in our United States or anything like that, and has control over the people and how they think of things. Why would he lie? And I mean, normal folk like me and you are just listening to this conversation going on and going, he has a million reasons to lie. So of course I'm going to believe that he's lying, or he's not being forthright with the truth about what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Somebody in the YouTube chat was asking for a source on that story, by the way, Moneypenny, if you happen to be in the YouTube chat, if you have a link, that would be great if you could drop that in. I would also like to take a look at that. Now, I have to admit, I have been traveling for about 7-8 hours a day for the last 5 days straight, so I haven't had the most opportunity to stay on top of all of the latest news, so you'll have to forgive my ignorance on that.
I forgive you, Jeremy.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I'm driving a truck and reading Twitter at the same time. No. Government.
Yeah, not safe.
Doug says government loves to investigate themselves and always find that they didn't do anything wrong. Nothing to see here. It's fine. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly.
Pulling an Officer Barb ready from South Park. Nothing to see here, folks. Move along. Nothing to see. Keep going. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
What's up, Vlad the Dragon? Welcome to the chat, man. He says, so happy I found you. Well, we're so happy to have you here. Don't forget
absolutely,
to
Vlad.
Subscribe.
You're awesome.
Anthony says Fauci throws a baseball like a 4-year-old girl. Well, I mean, that says it all right there, doesn't it? Never trust a man who can't throw a baseball. Let's see.
I would agree with that.
We have a couple more stereo comments here, and then I think we'll wrap it up. Patriots Against Tyranny has 3 more comments.
No, Delaney's right. And so are you, Weekly Narrative. The issue is that even Fox News, immediately out of nowhere, for the first time, Fox is happy to put democracy banners all over their background. Here's the problem, kids. We don't live in a democracy, nor were we ever established to be a democracy. Democracy is what Rome was. Mob rule. That is what democracy is. Benjamin Franklin said it best. Because it was a meme that I had seen where it was Dorothy, the Cowardly Lion, the Tin Man, and the Straw Man. And they were pulling apart the straw man and using him to make a fire because they were all cold and they needed to eat. And they said, sorry, straw man, we all voted. That's democracy. Mob rule. Which is what we do not have. We are a constitutional republic.
I think he's got a follow-up to that here.
In conjunction with my last comment, Ben Franklin said, a democracy is 2 wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner. A constitutional republic is a well-armed sheep protesting the vote.
Hell yeah.
Well,
kind of like that.
It's true, but I'll just throw in my own quote on democracy in there, and this relates back to the issue of scaling that I always like to bring up, and that is that you can't have a democracy in a country with 350 million retards. So there's my slightly less intellectual quote. But no less true. And he's got one last comment here, and then we'll...
Moneypenny is absolutely right, okay, with Fauci, okay, admitting that there may have been a mistake at the Wuhan lab. I would call it a little more of a mistake when this slips out, and then you lay at the foot of one man all of blame, a man named Charles Lieber, who now, if you look him up, says that he wasn't arrested. But what's hilarious is when this allegation came out, all of a sudden, Charles Lieber is wanted for tax fraud. And then there's no record of definite charges, and there's no record of a conviction. So he's either dead, missing, we don't know. The other problem is, the only reason why they're more than happy to show you ballot fraud in Maricopa County, Arizona, the only reason why they're more than happy to tell you that there was a slip-up at the Wuhan Institute of Virology is because they know you won't do anything about it, which is why they're happy to show you. That you won't do anything about it. That's why they're showing you. All of us.
Yeah.
It's a great point.
Unfortunately, you're right about that. People are just people aren't prepared. I don't think that people thought that this could ever happen in their lifetime, and aren't not only like physically prepared, but mentally prepared for the reality that the world and the way that things are running is not what it seems anymore. And I think a lot of people are taking the ostrich approach of just sticking their head in the sand and hopefully like people won't attack them. And that's not the way it should work.
Yeah, no, we've, that goes back to our relationship with authority. I think once we see something bad that happens, we expect that an authority figure will act on our behalf. Even those of us who don't have this strong of authoritarian tendencies, I have some kind of expectation that if there's some gigantic wrongdoing happening, somebody's going to do something about that, right? Like,
they should, but we don't live in should land, unfortunately.
That's exactly it. We've all kind of become complacent about it, which, again, is another argument for why I say we have to create our own breakaway societies, and because that stuff's not going to stop happening. You can be shown this stuff happening in real time, and people still won't do anything about it. And the best maybe you can try to muster is, let's storm the Capitol, Patriots! Yeah, and then they go in there and they steal a podium. You steal a podium, and then you think you steal a podium and a telephone and a Rolodex, and then you think you were having an effect on the world, which you really aren't. What's up, Kizza?
Write a letter for Nancy Pelosi.
Right, yeah, exactly. Kizza dropping the $5 super chat. Or £5.
Well, $7. £5, $7 here.
Yes, £5. Hey, Jeremy, Delaney, hope your move was smooth and all. It's settling in nicely. Thank you, Kizza. Yes, I did land in Houston, and Delaney is still, unfortunately, in California. I do feel like
but I'm in a better place personally in California. Maybe one day I'll make the jump and go somewhere else, but not today.
There you go. Osa says we are governed by unaccountable, faceless bureaucrats and rogue intelligence agencies. Yeah, rogue intelligence agencies who are now also hiring social justice warriors. You saw those CIA commercials, right, Osis? I'm a woman and I don't check boxes, but I'm intersectional and a single mom, and I have anxiety, and I can work for the CIA. Jesus.
I've got anxiety and depression, and I'm a single mom, and I'm a minority, and I'm working for the CIA.
But
okay.
Glad you got
there on merit.
I'm gonna check all the boxes, but I'm not here to check any boxes. Jesus. Yeah. So.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. You're not there to fill the diversity quota at all. No way.
Vlad the Dragon says China wants Taiwan because Taiwan and Japan both create en masse 70% of what's called semiconductors. These advanced computer chips allow for lots of technology. Yes, that's exactly right. And I think Patriot or somebody else in the stereo chat also brought that up as well. But yeah.
I think Patriot in stereo is Vlad the Dragon.
Oh, maybe that could be it.
In YouTube. I think they're the same person, because if I remember looking at his name when his thing was going, it's his name in stereo, or his handle is Vlad the Dragon.
Oh, sweet. Well, there you go. Well, if you guys are new to the stream, we do this every Tuesday and Saturday at 7 p.m. PST, which is now 9 o'clock for me in Houston. But hey, you know what? Adapt and overcome, right?
Absolutely.
Tug says Houston now is a problem. Jeremy is now out roaming the mean streets. Have you gotten your cowboy hat yet? You know what? I'm gonna lean into that. I am gonna get a cowboy hat. I'm gonna go full cowboy. I'm gonna try it out. Maybe it'll work for me. You guys might see me on a stream with the cowboy hat one day. And yeah,
I love cowboy hats.
I embrace the culture of wherever I go to. I don't expect the culture to conform to my desires. I'm not that arrogant and self-centered. I wouldn't go to China and say, "Oh, everyone needs to speak English. Why don't you speak English? Why don't you make everything for 6'3" people, not 5'4" people?" That may have been a little racist, but it's just an observation. Just saying they're generally shorter than me. But you get what I'm saying, right? I'm not gonna come here to Houston and be like, "This culture is terrible. Why do they all eat barbecue and wear cowboy hats?" No, I'm gonna lean into it.
Yeah, do it. It's fun. You'll like it. Trust me.
Let's see.
I mean, you couldn't embrace the culture here in Sacramento because there really is no culture. So
well, there is culture in Sacramento, and it's getting high on
it's just
PCP
shitty
and
culture.
ripping your clothes off in the middle of the street. That's a little.
It's true.
It's a little farther than I wanted to go, but that's why I didn't fit in there.
Yeah, you definitely stuck out like a sore thumb.
Okay, here's one good one from Nikki in the stereo, and then we'll end it after this.
Have you heard on the news that tiger that was running around West Side Houston? It's fucking crazy. I live right over here.
Yes. Literally, the first day that I got here, I opened up the news, and it's like, tigers running around Houston. What? Where?
Yep.
Where in Houston? I gotta be careful. That's
right?
Yeah, it was very. I'll say it's a good first impression to see that as your city in the news. It could be worse. It could be like truck full of 50 illegal immigrants turns over on the freeway. That's not as fun as tigers running around in your city. So.
Yeah, that was. I opened the news too, and I saw that, and I was like, "Oh, right in Jeremy's neighborhood. It's like they're celebrating you. It's the tigers celebrating you showing up."
Yes, exactly. That's how I'm gonna take it. You can find video of it online if you haven't seen it. Synergy. You can find it's literally like a Bengal tiger walking around. So, yeah, we're gonna. Okay, one more from Nikki. She's just following up.
And the craziest part of it all is that the tiger and the owner of the tiger literally went missing. They can't find this tiger anywhere.
Apparently, the owner is like a wanted murderer too, or something like that. I don't know. It could be fake news.
Yeah.
But he's a criminal of some sort. So.
She sounds hella cute. What's up, Nikki?
She does have a nice voice. Yeah, that's Texas for you. All right, guys. Kizza says that's very heightist. Yeah, I am a height supremacist. That is true. I can't help that. Just in my genes.
Yep. I guess I'm a height supremacist too because I'm pretty tall for a female.
You are. That's true. We powered through relocation. We only took 2 streams off. We came back.
Yep.
We powered through the technical difficulties at the beginning of the stream. We managed to get 30 people on the YouTube, and then who knows how many over on stereo also. So we had like 40 people listening here today. So I got to thank everybody for at least sticking around. Thank you for not completely giving up on us when we didn't stream for a week straight. But if you do want to keep in touch, make sure you follow us on YouTube, because I did have a community post to let you know. You can follow us at weeklynarrative.com. That's our private community where we cannot get banned for big tech. You guys can submit ideas for stories you want us to talk about, articles, studies, things like that we can talk about on the stream if you want to join that. Again, that's weeklynarrative.com. For the people listening on stereo, we do this stream on YouTube every Tuesday and Saturday, 7 p.m. PST, and vice versa. If you guys are in the YouTube chat and you want to join, ask video questions, as a lot of people are dual logging on YouTube and stereo, they can ask voice questions to us and just have a little bit more interaction. So thanks for joining again, guys. I hope it was a good show. As always, we'll be back here on Saturday. Did you have a good time, Delaney?
Oh, I always have a great time talking to you, Jeremy. I feel like it's been so long.
Yeah, it's only been a week, but it feels so long. All right. Well, I thought it was fun. We'll get back in the swing of things. Hopefully, less technical issues next time, and we will see you guys on Saturday on the Weekly Narrative. Have a good night.
Bye, y'all. It was good seeing you. Bye now.
Later.